A very warm welcome to all of you once again. In our today's session, we will be looking at the question number 8, and thank God this is going to be the end of our paper 1. And this has been a very fruitful, a very important discussion that we were trying to understand what and how the questions were there for 2024. So let's look at the last question that we are having, A, B, and C. So there again, we'll be having three questions, 20, 20, and 10 marker. The first question is about modern families have not just become nuclear and neo-local, but also heliocentric. The second question is discuss the various theories of social change and critically examine the world system theories. Coming to the first part, modern families have not just become nuclear and neo-local, but also heliocentric. How do you explain this trend? So if you look, this question has been taken from the Unit 9, Family and the Kinship System. In this, the last topic that we are having, these are the contemporary trends that we get to see which comes in the family system. As slowly you are seeing, there are some new trends which are producing in the family, such as single parent families, homosexual families, lesbian, gay marriages, etc. All these are modern trends as we compare to the traditional joint family systems. But let's look at this question. Modern families have not just become nuclear and neo-local, but also heliocentric. What is the meaning of this statement? So first of all, in the introduction, you need to provide an explanation. What this explanation is all about. So the introduction is telling that the family system has changed its shape. Initially, the family systems were present in the form of a typical patriarchal, patrilocal systems. But today, these family systems are becoming more and more in the aspects of a nuclear setup, or there is something in the form of a neo-local phenomenon. Now, these neo-local and nuclear family, it is trying to link with the concept of a heliocentric systems. The literal meaning of the word heliocentric, the philia stands for the word child, and centric means they are in a position of an authority. For example, there is one basic notion such as a patrilocal concept where the father is the decision maker. The matrilocal concept, the mother is the decision maker. Here it's a filiolocal concept or it's a filiocentric concept. The child is taking the shape of an authority. So what you can write here in the introduction that nuclear families are getting established, neo-local systems are there, and there is also a child-centric family. And there has been a sociologist, her name is Alison James. So you can highlight how Alison James is trying to speak about this concept. And there is another sociologist, his name is Alan Prout. So you can quote any of the two thinkers that we are having. Both of these sociologists, they are trying to speak about the child-centric issues. And then looking at the body part. Uh, in this particular, it's a 20 marker question. So you are not just directly going to jump and speak about this part. How do you explain this trend? We will try to address this in a detailed manner. But before that, we would also want to tell or explain how does a child-centric family or a child-centered family. So I am going to write some features. What is the meaning of the word child-centric systems? See. Slowly, as we see the family systems which are getting established, the child welfare development, the child holistic development, it becomes a very important criteria. So we see child is being focused on the matter of education systems. Why the family system is becoming heliocentric? Because the child education, it plays a very important role. Moreover, not just their education, but their physical and mental well-being is also an important criteria. Apart from this, we get to see that the government is designing the policies, the schemes are such a way which pays important to the children. For example, Beti ko bachao and then Beti ko padhao. So the scheme of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is trying to focus the welfare of a daughter in the family system. And apart from that, the judiciary system is also paying good amount of attention. For example, if the father and the mother wants to get a divorce, the judge might ask a child, do you want this divorce to happen? And if this child is telling, no, I don't want a divorce, then the judge is going to adjourn that particular case, or it's going to postpone for 6 months or 1 year whatsoever. So the judiciary system is also paying attention to the welfare and the development of child. Moreover, apart from that, slowly the families are becoming more and more materialism in consumerism. This gives a right of choice to the children. So what makes them child centric? For example, they are taking a new car, they are taking a new house. So the materialism, consumerism is going to give importance to the opinion of that child. So we see materialism, consumerism, more and more amount of nuclear families are going to establish. The child-centric approach will be present. So here we get to see multiple factors such as child focused on education, physical, mental development, the policies and schemes of the government. The judge will bring the consideration, material consumerism. All these are multiple factors which explains a child-centric approach. Now let us try to explain the reasons for the trend. So you are going to write reasons of the trends of these heliocentric, why they are coming. One of the most important reason is there is a decline in the total fertility rate. Earlier, the fertility rate used to be high, above 3, above 4, or even 5 as well. But slowly, as the modernity comes, the fertility rate declines. More number of children, the attention is being divided into 5, 6 children. But if there is one child, two child, the parents are going to pay a lot of attention. So when the fertility rate declines, the heliocentric approach among the family tends to increase. One child is able to is able to control the whole family, because he is going to have he will be considered as a super kid. There is something called a six syndrome family as well, but right now we will just say the fertility rate is going to decline, so that will increase the importance. Moreover, in a joint family system, the child is not very important, but we have moved from joint family to nuclear families. From patrilocal joint families, traditional families, we have moved to new local families. So if there is a rise of urbanization, it means there are less number of joint families. If there is a rise of urbanization, there is less number of joint families, and there is more number of new local families, more number of nuclear families. So urbanization trend is also going to promote these heliocentric. Moreover, father is not just playing an instrumental role, like Talcott Parson has told. Mother is not just playing an emotional role. Their roles has been exchanged. So we get to see there is a concept called as fluidic parenting. This means both the parents are ready to take up the roles. The father will cook, the mother will go outside and work. That will also explain some of these trends. And as we see, the state government policies, the role of social media is also playing an important role. Slowly, the movies, these social media platforms, they are giving a lot of importance and attention to a child, especially in the field of marketing. If they want to show a new car is being taken or a new home is being taken, the children are shown as the center of the family. So social media is influencing, the marketing is influencing, the government is creating some policies and the schemes. They tend to bring a certain form of an influence. The judiciary system, the same point that we have discussed over here, we would like to highlight. The judiciary system is also playing an important role, and we see with the rise of consumerism, materialism, the child-centric approach has relatively increased. So finally, what you are going to explain is modern families have not just become nuclear and new local, but also how do you explain? These trends are explaining that the family systems or the dynamics of family systems have undergone a lot of number of changes. Initially, it was in the form of joint, they have become later nuclear. They were in the form of patrilocal, and then now they are going towards neo-local. Both of these trends, they explain both of these trends, they explain the concept of neo-local families. So coming to the next question, discuss the various theories of social change, explain the limitations of unilinear theory of social change. And if you look, this particular question, it has been taken from the 10th unit and it is coming from the first part. If you look, if you talk about the concept of social change, every other institution that we have studied, uh, such as economy, polity, religion, kinship, all these institutions, they are going in some or the other form of social changes. And this question is coming from the 10th unit, the social changes in modern society. And the first topic that we are having is theories of social change. So that is the reason I have written unit 10A. It's asking, discuss the various theories that we are having which captures the social changes. So what you can do is, in the introduction part, you can include, so many thinkers are there who are trying to define what is the social change. For example, if I highlight, there is a sociologist called as McIver and Page. There is another sociologist called as Jensen. There is another sociologist called to be as Fairchild. These are the different, and all of them have tried to define social changes in their own unique way. But let me give you a simple introduction. What is a social change? It literally means that there is any kind of alteration, or there is any kind of modification, or there is any kind of a transfer. Where is this happening? This happens in the case of social behavior, in the case of social interactions, in the case of social structures, or in the case of social institutions. And largely, these changes are happening in the societal aspect or in the cultural aspect. Here, I am giving you a very broad definition. Now it is upon you to decide whether you want to write a single definition given by only McIver and Page, or only Jensen or Fairchild, or what you can do is you can cook or create your own definition. It is talking about, so instead of using the word change, what I have used up over here is alteration, modification, transfer, transformation. And where is this happening? This is happening at the behavior level of an individual, between two individuals who are talking as interactions, how they are interacting at different segments of structures, and in the institutions as well. And when you bring all these institutions, it becomes an aspect of society, and the larger part of society, it's actually going to be seen as the culture of those segments. So here I am giving you a very good, a very beautiful broad introduction that we are having, and then we are having the body part. Now, what are the popular theories that we are having for social changes? If you look, one of the most popular theories that has been looked into here is, there is a theory which is called as unilinear theories of social change, and there are so many different names which has been given to unilinear theories. It is called as evolutionary theories, multilinear theories, developmental theories, progressive theories. They are simply called as unilinear theories, and there are some synonyms. So in the examination, if the word unilinear doesn't come and some other word comes, it will have the same meaning itself. And who are the popular sociologists who has spoken in the unilinear aspect? The father of sociology, Auguste Comte. The sociological Darwin, Herbert Spencer, is also one among them. And there is a sociologist called to be as an early one, L.H. Morgan. But if you want to write some other theories that we are having, there is a popular cyclical theories. They tell that the society is not going ahead in a unilinear concept, but rather the society is moving like a pendulum. It is like a wave. So whatever is going to happen now, it will go forward. There will be a sink, then there will be an anti-sink, there will be a dip. The history repeats itself. So that is why this repetition is referred as the word cyclical theory. And the most popular sociologist who has spoken for the cyclical theory is the landmark Pitrim Sorokin. Apart from Pitrim Sorokin, there is another person. Just a second. Uh, There is another person. His name is Oswald Spengler, and then there is another person called as Arnold Toynbee. Yes. So here we are trying to write down unilinear theories are there, cyclical theories are there. If you want to also highlight on the basis of conflict itself, the changes has been produced, such as Karl Marx is telling, the change is produced on economic dimensions. He highlights the concept of class. When the economic systems changes, ancient will go into feudal, feudal will go into industrial capitalistic society. But his successor, Weber, disagrees with Marx. And he says Marx has given a very unilinear conflict, only economic dimension. But apart from that, apart from the class, there are other two dimensions which has been ignored or not discussed by Karl Marx, and that is status and power, political party systems. So Weber and Marx, both of them are considered together under the conflict theory. There is also something called as functional theories. If we see, Parson has discussed about this concept, not in a very detailed way, but he has spoken something called as changes are produced in the form of moving equilibrium. Although Parson is criticized for establishing a too harmonious theory, but on the other hand, Parson is trying to speak about the social change in the aspect of moving equilibrium in the end of his career. But his famous student, R.K. Merton, he has tried to explain the social change with the help of the deviants. Specifically, the change is going to come from the rebellion deviants, because the rebellion deviants are the philosophers, the revolutionary fighters, etc. So we are going to look into different theories of social change. And the second part that we are having, there are two parts to this question. The first part is the A and the second is B. What are the limitations that we are having? What are some of the problems? Why unilinear theory is not completely correct? What are some of the lacunas? What are some of the things which are missing? The first criticism that we can see is they try to give this unilinear theory by talking about in an evolutionary manner. It is mostly appropriately seen as a biological concept. It is not a sociological concept. It means biological phenomena can be explained in stage-wise manner. A social phenomena cannot be explained in a stage-wise manner. So why are you bringing a biological concept in the field of sociology? Is it not a blind imitation? Is it not just like a copy and paste from one academic field into another academic field? That is one criticism. The another is we have tried to look we have tried to look the stages in a very simple manner. So it brings an aspect of oversimplification. The whole world is very dynamic. You cannot just capture it in a form of a stage such as A. The whole other dynamics is captured in the form of a B. This is like an oversimplification of society. And then there is a third aspect which says, why is the cyclical theories not being discussed enough? Things will come in a reversible manner itself. And lastly, there is another criticism which says that Western view is considered as is considered as a center of development. So the non-Western sociologists, even the Western sociologists, have criticized this unilinear theory because they are trying to look at this unilinear theory where the West is taking the world forward and all the non-Western societies is following the Western world. So it is considered to be as a West-centric theory. That is also a form of a criticism that we are having. Finally, in the conclusion, we are going to say that the concept of social change is a dynamic concept. The concept of social change is a dynamic concept. There are such many phenomena such as cultural phenomena, agent phenomena, multi-dimensional aspects, all these things together will explain how the changes are happening in the contemporary society. So here we are looking a conclusion where social change is not just defined in a stage-wise manner, but it's a dynamic phenomena, it's a cultural, many agents are there, many dimensions are there, and if we bring all of them together, then only the justice will be given to the social changes. Now let's look at the next question that we are having, question number C from the eighth part. So coming to the last part, C, uh, take a look at it. Critically examine the world system theory of Immanuel Wallerstein in terms of development and dependency. This particular question has been taken from the unit 10 and it's the part B. Directly the question is coming from this topic, development and dependency. It's a pro-globalization theory, and this is an anti-globalization theory. It criticizes modern society, is based on historical capitalism. Let's look what this theory is all about. First of all, in the introduction, you are going to say that this theory has been taken up by the Immanuel Wallerstein, and he has given a popular concept of world system theory in 1970s. He is basically trying to use this theory as a critic to the concept of global capitalism, or he is trying to use this theory in the criticism of globalization. So you can see this theory is a critic to capitalism. This theory is a critic to globalization, called as world system theories, that came up in 1970s. It is given by a famous American sociologist, socio-economist Immanuel Wallerstein. And then you are going to speak about the body part. What is this theory all about? It is trying to tell the whole world is like one economic system. You might think that nations are there, continents are there, but actually he divides the whole world into the concept something like this. Right at the center, the development takes place. These are called to be as core countries. The well-developed countries, the highly developed countries, these are the core countries. An example for that is US. But if USA or UK, if they want to claim the resources, what they will do is they will not create a direct exploitation. They will take the help of some intermediary countries, which are called to be as semi-periphery countries. An example of a semi-periphery countries is South America in the case of Africa, or Panama in the case of South America. So in every continent, they will pick some semi-periphery countries from where the resources will be taken. For example, they will take the resources from Morocco for chocolate, cocoa. They will take the developmental raw materials from South Africa. They will take the petroleum, etc. from Colombia, Venezuela countries. These countries are semi-periphery countries. And finally, the poorest countries, they are called to be as the periphery, such as the African nations, what we are having. So this theory is basically talking in this way, critically examine the world system theory. So this concept of core semi-periphery country, it needs to be criticized. So first of all, you need to come and speak what is this theory all about, core semi-periphery, and then you will also speak about some criticism that why this theory is not completely right. There are some problems which are existing. For example, this theory is considered as economic determinist theory. It means this guy Immanuel Wallerstein, he is only trying to speak in economic dimension. What about the political dimension? You have ignored. What about the cultural dimension? That has been ignored. So bringing a unilateral perspective such as economic determinism, it seems like an error. It seems like a problem. Apart from this, if you're talking about core is like one block, semi-periphery is controlled by the core, they exploit. But what about those trends when these blocks are broken? For example, UK has gotten out of European Union, so the concept of Brexit. There is a organization created such as BRICS, which has established. It goes against this hierarchy of core, semi-periphery countries. So how are you going to justify these dimensions? Many times the world is going against these concepts with the phenomena of deglobalizations as well. New types of programs, new agreements or memorandum of understandings are being created, such as deglobalizations. And lastly, with this theory, what you're actually trying to tell is Africa is not responsible for their underdevelopment. Southeast Asian countries are not responsible for their poverty. They are just mere passive victims. Actually, they are being controlled. So you are trying to re-establish the fact the core is completely controlling the semi-periphery. So if that's not completely, you cannot say the whole world is like a passive victims to the core countries. That will be wrong. So here we have got some criticism, we have got some explanation that we are having, and then finally coming to the part of conclusion where you are going to say that large number of data is required, large number of empirical facts are required, large number of evidences are required, and yes, world system theory, it is important, which highlights the dynamics, but at the same time, the concept of global hierarchy is a much complex phenomena. World system theory helps us to understand capitalism, but there is a scientific temperament which is missing in this theory. Large data, empirical facts, evidences are not present, but it is helping us to understand the dynamic nature. So, looking at this theory, going back to the first question, modern families, what have we written? First, we have written the introduction that modern families, how they are considered to be as feliocentric, child-centric. We are trying to define what is this child-centric approach. So in the body part, first you will be explaining what is child-centricism and what are some of the reasons which are present. And then we are trying to look at the conclusion. Next, we have tried to provide an introductions. Number of different thinkers have been written over here. This all talks about the social changes that we are having. These about the components which are getting altered. This is the consequences. So we have tried to write an introduction in a very broad and in a holistic format. Then comes the body part. You have explained some theories such as unilinear theories, cyclical theories, conflict theories, functional theories, and then you have tried to highlight the drawbacks or the limitations which are there. It is not just a biological concept, oversimplification, etc. And then in the conclusion, you are trying to say that there are so many dimensions which needs to be incorporated. And in the last part, we are having the introductions, which has been given by Emmanuel Wallerstein. It's on the world system theory. It's a criticism to global capitalism. It's a short marker. It's a 10 marker question. So therefore, you have just going to give a brief explanation. You will make sure to criticize this on some of these aspects. Then you will provide a conclusion that it's not completely balanced. It's not justified to just tell the whole world is like one economic unit. That is not a reality. There are some components which are missing, but this theory has helped us to understand the nature of global capitalism. But we require a balanced approach. So that's it in our today's session. So with this, our paper one, complete paper one discussion has come to an end. I want you to go with all these questions in a slow manner. I want you to create a schedule out of it. I have uploaded the PDF for this, all the answers. I have given you the model answers as well. I want you to look at them nicely, take the preparation seriously. If you work on them, I really hope you can clear this examination, or at least you can have a good score when it comes to sociology optional. All the best. In some time, I will be seeing with you the paper 2 discussions in a holistic with a qualitative material which helps you to score 300 plus at the optional level. I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day.